Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to another respade game. It's not a fully respade, but it is the first battle that I played in the American rank 5 battle rating 7.3 medium tank, the M47, in a long while. And the reason for that is because I have very bad memory on this tank. In fact, when I finished the grind on this tank, I said to myself, never touch that thing again. Things have changed, new opponents arise, and well, I have to say I never played it too often with the heat FS shell, and even then I just couldn't make it work properly. That's like a long time ago, 2 years to be honest. Since then I've refined tactics, situational awareness, map awareness, and I have come to play realistic battles. The last time I played this tank was in arcade, and arcade for this tank is a real death field because there are just King Tigers and Russian tanks, IS-3s back in the days, still T-54s of every variant, and with the stock shell, hell, even with the first so-called upgrade, the APHE shell, you have damn hard times making them work, be with the stock shell or with the stock shell. You can theoretically penetrate them, but you do minimal damage. And with the APHE you have to aim for cupolas on the T-54s, try to shot trap the IS-3s, and well, against the King Tiger, good luck from the front. And then there comes the heat FS shell after 2 consecutive grinds of APCR shells that are practically useless in the current state of the game, with the armor interaction rules, the bounce mechanics, the non-penetrations, to make it short, the normalization of the shell. The M47 by itself is not a bad tank, and the reason why I make this video is not just because this was a good match, but also that things have changed. I appreciate different things on a tank than previous, or like 2 years ago. It's a kind of a change of the meta. The beginning is kind of, it looks like a dog's dinner, to be honest, but the message that I have to give you with this tank is never give up, just try your best, and at the end of the day you can have good results with that tank that has really good stats. So again, this is the American Tech Tree rank 5 tank, and we have to talk about the battle rating later on a little bit. The thing is, it has the worst stock grind that I can remember. Even the M48 Patton wasn't that bad because I immediately knew what was coming with the stock APCR shell. Hell, whoever had that thought at Gaijin headquarters should be punished accordingly. Oh, you want to fire him? No, I said punished accordingly. Send him to the wall? No! He should play tank for 2 weeks stock. And then we talk about the upgrades again. Okay? So for developer punishment. Yeah. Then I think the stock grind is again one of the worst that I've ever witnessed. What is the tank like when it's upgraded? And that's a real nice topic, because it's different. It has a 90mm gun that on my current crew has an 8.0 second reload, so it's not bad, not good, it's okayish, average. You can't compete with the Brits, of course. You have no stabilizer, you have no APDS. However, the heat shell that you have is the first good heat shell for the Americans, I'd say. For 2 reasons. It has a base penetration of 320mm of armor at any distance, and a muzzle velocity of 1216 meters per second for this M431 shell. The damage also is not too bad, and also you can alternate between the heat FS shell and the APHE, which you can see me here doing in the background. But as you know by yourself, whenever you need to alternate between the shell types, you always have the wrong shell in your barrel when you come into a certain situation. But it's the muzzle velocity of 1200 meters per second that is really nice, because when we look at the M46 that recently got buffed, and sits at a battle rating of 7.0, we have a muzzle velocity of 853 meters per second for 305 millimeters of penetration. Penetration is not a problem. It's the muzzle velocity that lets you feel like an M3 gun. It drops really off at range. And precise shooting, well, okay, with the heat defense shell, you do not need that precise shooting. Then I have to also tell you one other reason is because on the dev server at least, we saw that the Germans get a new premium, which is also the M47 for the Germans at rank 5. I just have to say this, two things about the dev server M47s. I don't know if it is exactly the same tank, I just say it will be that. It's very likely that it will be the same tank with the same stats, basically copy and paste. What happened on the dev server, the first time I looked at it, they didn't have the heat shell in the tech tree or the modules of the tank. Again, I alternate back to APHE because I have the sight of a Russian tank and I shoot through bushes. And third person view, thank you very much, that's my ace. Moving on. And then when I looked at when I recorded the dev server footage in one sitting, I used a script and I noted that. So just for clarifications, the last time that I showed you the M47, it had the heat defense shell. I just didn't look at it properly because the first time it didn't have it, and I did not think that when relaunching the game, or when relaunching the game, that Gaijin would kind of deal with it that quickly. So there is that. Then we have to ask about the overall performance. So again, the armament is great, you have heat defense and APHE. Stock grind for the premium will not be a problem, but for the American tank it's awful. It's awful, okay? And you don't have the mobility as an upgraded tank, which makes this tank also work, because it has 810 horsepower for a 44.1 ton tank. By the way, I looked at the tracers to find the position of the German AAA, because German AAA hunting is such a nice thing, because they're the only thing left after you have dealt with the main battle tanks, or the heavies and the mediums. So of course nobody really enjoys playing AAA. Positioning is a damn hard task to do, but it's still possible. But then again, what is enjoyable, what is possible, what is likely? It's always a question. So that results in 18.4 horsepower per ton. To get that in perspective, the M46 has 18.5, the Panther II has 19.1, and the M55-1 Sheridan, which is a light tank, has also 18.4. And your top speed with 47 kilometers an hour is not bad, so you move around. What about your armor? Well, the gun mantle itself is okayish against APHE, but everything around it, for your normal D10T gun for the Russians, the 100mm, or the long 88 for the Germans, is just a piece of cake. Mwah! You will penetrate and one-shot the tank, or if you're lucky, two of your crew members in the front of the tank, one being the radio operator and one being the driver, of course, might survive, but then you are so crippled you wouldn't believe it. So the armor on the turret is not too good, but it's not Vickers MBT weak. Then again, the hull is a bit trollish, at least the upper frontal plate. The lower glacis, however, it's not paper, but I guess a Panzer IV can penetrate you there. So yeah, and the side, well, again, it's a bit like the M46. Side front is just under 80mm, and the portion of the engine section is 50mm, 50.8 I guess. So you're not paper, but you have no real armor, so you're kind of a bit more on the light tank side when you compare it to, for example, the Russian T-54s. The T-54s have basically heavy tank armor and then a very reliable 100mm D10T gun that has no access to heat or APDS. Just your very good performing Russian 100mm 240mm penetration APAG. That can deal with practically any tank if you know where to shoot, and the damage effect is second to none, I guess. But then again, let's talk about where to put this tank, because the battle rating of 7.3 is what is really worth discussing. It is an empty battle rating for the Americans. In fact, the only tank that there is at 7.3 is the M47. At 7.7, then the M103 comes along with the M48A1 Patton, and afterwards you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks currently, 6 tanks with 8.0 battle rating. What about the Germans, where you can expect the premium to occur, get? Well, the only 7.3 tank that there is for the Germans is the Jagdpanzer V, which I guess is one of the least played tanks, not just for the overall lineup, but also performance. It should switch battle rating with the RE251, but that's just me, I guess. The Germans have a few tanks at 7.0, like the Kugelblitz, Jagdtiger, 10.5 cm Tiger II, and of course the Panther II. Then again, at 7.7 you just have the Maus / the E100, whoever gets that, so again a standalone tank. And then you have the Raketenjagdpanzer II, Raketenjagdpanzer II Hot at 8.3 respectively, and the Raketenjagdpanzer II at 8.0, the both Leopards and the Flakpanzer and Gepard at 8.0. So where can you use this tank? Well, I guess thanks to the heat shell you can make it work at even higher battle ratings. But for the American, the stock grind is second to none, I guess. Maybe the M48, because the stock shell is that awful, because it's APCR with that ridiculously bad damaging effect as well, even if you directly hit an Emmerich. I just was burned by this tank. So, do I recommend the premium? Well, I have to play more battles to get a bit of feeling again for the tank, but I remember it much worse than in that one battle. So this is kind of a first impressions after 2 years. And again, we have to see if there are no big battle rating changes when the patch drops, if there are, you know, rank changes, and if that premium tank comes at all. So the results: 51,000 silver lines, nearly 3,800 research points, but then again, after refilling of the ammunition, which cost 13,000 silver lines, and the destroyed tank of 5,000 silver lines, I got a total pure profit of 33,000 silver lines. I think that is important to mention here if you intend to grind silver lines with the tank as well. So that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know what you think about the M47 yourself and what you expect from the tank, and if it will be a really good support for German lineups or not. And we'll see each other in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.